All right, I'm out here in the backyard of a beautiful day here in sunny Petaluma. And as we've already said, the Warriors, they only had one pick in the 2025 NBA draft, nothing on the first round. So the big question now, though, is did they get impacted by the first round of the NBA draft? Because as we already know, the Western Conference is always wild. It's always going to be a slugfest. And yes, some top talent from the draft is joining the Warriors out west. It all begins with the number one pick, right? Cooper Flagg joining the Dallas Mavericks. This is not your usual let's rebuild, start it over, the process type of situation for a number one pick. Cooper Flagg is going to a team that expects to compete for a championship, even after, obviously, we know the trade with Luka Doncic last year going to the LA Lakers. But, I mean, this is still a team that's going to have Kyrie Irving when he's healthy, Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, Klay Thompson, Daniel Gafford. They still have Lively, all of these talented pieces that feel like they can compete for a championship. And then you bring in the number one player, the number one prospect, the number one pick like Cooper Flagg. I don't see how, if you're a Mavs fan, how you can't just be ecstatic right now. The only question mark, though, that comes to Cooper Flagg is maybe his three-point shooting and if he's able to play the three compared to the four, because we know that AD would rather play the four than the five. But I don't care. I've seen some people be like, oh, he's not going to be the most prolific scorer. There might actually be better players, better talents in this draft. I shake my head at that. I go back to when I was at Team USA camp this last summer, before Team USA went to the Olympics, before Steph put on a show and absolutely gave the night to Team France. Obviously, you saw Cooper Flagg. We were able to be there for a couple minutes when they are scrimmaging against Team USA, when Brandon Pajemski's part of that, Trace Jackson Davis, and Cooper Flagg's right there in the mix. And there were times that he looked like the best player on the floor. I'm telling you, he's going after AD. He's not backing down from LeBron, from any of these guys. And I just think his pure competitiveness and the way he connects everything is really going to help the Dallas Mavericks out. So, obviously, again, it starts with him. And if I'm the Warriors, they got one hell of a pick. Nico Harrison is counting as blessings that this worked out for them. But after that, you go right to the next pick, Dylan Harper with the San Antonio Spurs. And I think that the Spurs had a really, really good first round, being able to add Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant in the lottery. I think that there might be a couple fit questions when it comes to Dylan Harper, as far as now you have Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, and De'Aaron Fox. Okay, how are they all going to work together? Right now, I think the Spurs are just saying, we just want to accumulate as much talent as possible, especially when you have somebody like Victor Wembanyama. If I'm the Spurs, I'm going in now. And I'm not saying to trade these young guys for a superstar. I would have been intrigued with having the number 2 pick, the number 14 pick at my disposal. If someone like Kevin Durant, we know he was available, gets traded to the Rockets. If a Giannis is available, all those sorts of things. But I just see Wemby and I go, well, what is the window? Someone that's that tall, that long, I am always going to be worried about injuries. We know he had this weird blood clot issue as a rookie. So to me, if I'm the Spurs, I'm going, yes, let's get as much talent as possible, but I'm not looking at a 10, 15-year thing, because I have somebody like Wemby who's so young and I have all this young talent. I'm going, okay, is this enough talent to really compete in a 5-year window more than anything else? So the Spurs, again, had a really, really good overall draft in the lottery. No doubt about that. They're just like really smart franchise, whether Pop is the head coach or not. And then the rest of the first round for the West, we're talking Ace Bailey goes to the Jazz, and it's such a Jazz thing, right? We know that Ace Bailey, it sure seemed like, did not want to go to Utah. He was trying to manipulate his way to Brooklyn or to DC to be in a team like that. But hey, maybe the Jazz end up being the best thing for them. The Jazz are such an interesting roster because just as I keep talking about talent and assets, that's what Danny Ainge is always going to go for. He's going to get as many assets as possible, as much young talent as possible to see how he can best utilize that for the future of his franchise. Well, the player and pick that I thought really stood out to me was what the Suns did with the number 10 pick that they got from the Rockets in this Kevin Durant trade, being able to bring in Kamon Malawach from Duke right after bringing in Mark Williams in a trade with the Charlotte Hornets. So seeing if they're going to keep Mark Williams will be interesting as well, because now you talk about 2 7-footers, 2 rim runners, 2 guys that are going to be absolute lob threats for Devin Booker and anybody else there in Phoenix. The rest of the first round for the West, I don't think it's a lot of guys that are really going to impact the Warriors in the West right now. Maybe down the road, sure. I actually really do like the Nick Clifford pickup by the Sacramento Kings. That might be the one, actually, because, I mean, the end of his season at Colorado State, he was playing like an All-American, just someone who can score the ball, but he's a glue guy as well. I see him being a winning player, no doubt about it. The Kings got a good one on their hands. The first round wrapped up with Yannick Conan Niederhauser from Penn State, another rim runner, shot blocker, someone who really, really impressed during the pre-draft process at the NBA Scouting Combine, who really rose up the draft boards. And so he was the final pick of the first round, goes to the Clippers. The Clippers obviously already have Zubac, who's an absolute problem for the Warriors. So just another 7-footer for the Warriors in the West to have to compete with, to have to deal with. But overall, we saw 12 players get selected by teams in the Western Conference, 7 in the lottery. If we're talking about how it impacts the Warriors, not too much. To me, it really is the Cooper Flagg pick, the Dylan Harper pick, because we're talking about 2 teams in Texas, in the Dallas Mavericks and the San Antonio Spurs, who did not make the playoffs last year. They're not in that kind of game anymore. They're not in a rebuild. They're not in a waiting game. They're trying to go, especially the Dallas Mavericks. We know that they see their championship window as now, even though they added the youngest player in the draft in Cooper Flagg. The Spurs, really interesting to see how they see their window, but you just add more talent with Dylan Harper, with Carter Bryant. So those two teams at the very top of the draft, they did a great job, no doubt about it. And they're, of course, there's another team to deal with in the Western Conference for the Warriors. Now we wait and see what the Warriors do with the 41st overall pick in the draft. You guys know the drill. Like, subscribe, share. I'll talk to you soon.